In a meadow far, far away lived a tiny girl, no taller than your thumb. You might know her as Thumbelina. One day she got bored of living in her flower pot home and decided to explore the big, wide world. But the only problem was everything was gigantic out there. Blades of grass were like forests. Pebbles were like boulders, and dewdrops were like oceans. At first, she couldn't find anything to climb on. Everything was too smooth. She slid off blades of grass, rolled away from pebbles, and splashed around in puddles. Poor Thumbelina was exhausted and just wanted to take a nap. So she curled up on a leaf and closed her eyes until a big buzzing sound woke her up. She opened her eyes and gasped. A giant bee was crawling all over her leaf, its hairy body bigger than Thumbelina's entire house. She quickly crawled under a twig for cover as the bee landed on it, sniffing the air. The bee had a basket full of pollen, and as it crawled along the leaf, some of it fell off and landed on Thumbelina's nose. When the bee flew away, she sneezed and the pollen flew off, landing on another leaf. That leaf just so happened to be the home of a grumpy ladybug who did unappreciate Thumbelina sneezing pollen all over her house. "Who's there?" she cried. "Who's been sprinkling my house with pollen? Clean it off, you tiny intruder." Thumbelina tried to explain, but the ladybug just kept interrupting her. "Clean it off, I said." And before Thumbelina could say a word, the ladybug started to clean the pollen off her house using her little paws. She cleaned and she cleaned until every speck of pollen was gone. Then she looked down at Thumbelina, who was still sitting on the leaf. "Well," she said, "I guess you can help me collect some pollen for my friends." Thumbelina didn't have a choice, so she nodded her head and hopped onto the ladybug's back. As they flew around the meadow, Thumbelina saw a beautiful flower and told the ladybug to land on it. When it did, she jumped off and started to dance. She twirled and she leaped and she giggled as she sprinkled pollen on the flower. The ladybug watched her for a moment before flying off to find more flowers for her friends. Thumbelina continued dancing until a butterfly landed beside her. "Why are you dancing?" he asked. Thumbelina explained that she was helping the ladybug collect pollen and the butterfly wanted to help too. He dipped his straw-like mouth into the flower and sucked up some pollen. Then he led Thumbelina to another flower where they met up with a bumblebee. He was very excited to see them. "Do you have any pollen for me?" he asked. Thumbelina nodded and handed him some. Then the three friends flew off to find more flowers to sprinkle with pollen. They flew past blades of grass that tickled Thumbelina's face, over puddles that she could splash in, and around trees that smelled sweet and fresh. Finally, they spotted a group of ladybugs sitting on a leaf. "Here you go," the butterfly said, handing them the pollen. The ladybugs were very happy and invited Thumbelina to play with their children. They rolled balls made of flower petals and raced each other around the garden. Thumbelina had never had so much fun. She played until the sun started to set, then said goodbye to her new friends. As she flew home, she thought about how lucky she was to have such wonderful friends. She snuggled into her bed of moss and leaves and closed her eyes, dreaming of the adventures she would have tomorrow.